Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink.
I got you.
Let's go.
And and once again, we'll welcome everybody to another edition here of the Mass Steel Podcast. With, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy, Richey right now, as we get ready to count down to the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Baltimore Ravens on Thanksgiving night on Turkey Day. Getting ready for another exciting matchup between these two phenomenal teams coming up in just a few days. And we'll see how this continues to work itself out for the time being as we get ready to count down right now. Steelers are looking to sweep the season series versus Baltimore Ravens. If they are able to be successful in doing that, the Steelers will definitely eliminate the Ravens, not from the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, they'll still be alive for the playoffs, but they'll eliminate any hopes they have of trying to win the AFC North just by winning them twice back-to-back right there. So their plans will be shot. They will drop down to 5 games going into that contest. Remember, they still got a 3-game lead over the Cleveland Browns. So that will just push that magic number to 3 games. And they would need a Cleveland Browns loss to gain 2 games this week so they get a little bit more closer during this time as we look at it. And we'll see how that continues to work itself out. But once again, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can definitely do so. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. For the Mass Steel Podcast on Twitter, it is at Mass Steel CGR on Twitter, at Mass Steel Nation on Instagram. As we take a look at it right now, just coming in at a live look at this point as we get ready to see the Steelers get ready to do battle for this contest going into this game. You're going to be definitely expecting a desperate Baltimore Ravens team coming into this group, I would imagine, for this time as we look at it. And for what they've been going through, the last couple of weeks, let's face it, they lost 3 games basically around this time. And they have now dropped to a horrendous 6-4 start right now. They're getting dangerously close to possibly not being in the playoffs. Who would have thought we would have heard that with the Ravens, considering what they've been through last year? And, you look at, too, one of the biggest interesting things that really stood out in my mind yesterday while I was listening to Rex Ryan speak with Mike Greenberg, on Get Up on ESPN, was that they're starting to lose the ability of being like the bullies anymore. And the thing is, with that, when you really take a look at it, I just feel like right there, that is something huge right there. The Tennessee Titans at the end of the day, not to get into that game, but when you take a look at as it still came across like just disrespectful. I would just not be doing walking on a team's logo and then like shouting out to someone else. I think anytime you do that, you're always going to create a war right there. Someone's going to get amped up right there. And at that point in time too, you got to really be a lot more on guard right here. Get ready to be for a slugfest. They were able to back it up at the end of the day. Remember, this is the same Titans franchise who once upon a time, the story was of the stop towel where they also disrespected the Steelers a long time ago. I think that was the old Oilers days. I forget the exact myth and tale on that, but we'll find out as we get ready. We get closer right now for this time as we look at what's going to be happening for this week here all this time. But I definitely do like the fact right now, the Steelers right now, at the end of the day, they are getting themselves ready right now. They're getting their mindsets properly. And like I said, I know there's a lot of fear right now. A lot of people are starting to wonder, this is going to probably be like their first loss of the season. And probably will feel better if they don't run the table of the regular season. I think at the end of the day, too, you really want to look at it this way and say to yourself here, listen, Mike Tomlin has got this team more than prepared to get this team moving forward. He already realizes they're going to be coming in with targets on their backs and on their chest, no matter who they faced. I mean, when you keep winning like this, you're going to keep constantly setting the bar at the end of the day. And I think that's the proper way to look at it. I mean, throughout this time, I think Mike Tomlin, he realizes you have to take things one thing at a time. And the good thing I like about it, too, I mean, Mike Tomlin's appreciating the moment. They're thrilled to be at a historic 10-0 start, I mean, for the history of their franchise. But I think right now you do have to be a little bit more, I mean, just wary that just like the Jacksonville Jaguars game, you're going into a game where someone's going to get ready to roll up their fists and want to give you a beatdown in this game. So we'll find out. We'll find out how this happens in less than 2 days coming up at Heinz Field. Like I said, I definitely expect a desperate Ravens squad coming up. I just feel right now that they've been humiliated to the point right now. You got a lot of people definitely looking at this team right now. I mean, when you really take a look at things, I mean, they've been 1-3 since that Steelers loss. I mean, their only victory they gotten since losing to the Steelers was being the Colts in Indianapolis. So they lost 2 games at home within that span, one to the Steelers, and of course, this past Sunday against the Titans. I mean, the same Titans who were able to show them the early exit door right in their home field in the divisional round of the playoffs. I mean, that's what you got to remember. I mean, it's a lot of pride right now. And the biggest surprising thing is, too, how John Harbaugh and some of his coaches were able to come out there, and not so much the Ravens players prior to the start of that game. The thing is, I mean, these two teams right now, listen, I think you do got to remember going to this contest. So the biggest headlines that we heard going in, which Dale Lolley was able to remind everyone going into this game, you had running backs Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. Oh, they're not going to be in this game due to testing positive for COVID. The game, so far as we know, is going to still be on, so the game is not going to be canceled, thankfully. But you also got adding to that list right now, defensive tackle Brendan Williams. He's also tested positive for COVID-19 and will be placed on the reserve and COVID-19 list later today, according to sources. And we'll see what happens from there. I mean, listen. I mean, the Steelers. I mean, for the most part. I mean, this season. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger has been able to acknowledge. I mean, once again, this is a season of unusual circumstances. But at the same time, COVID-19, and will be placed on the reserve as a team. What they've been able to do all year, just be able to control what you can control. I mean, it's no one's fault right now. I mean, what's going on? I mean, this is an incredible, deadly disease right now which likes we have not seen. But, I mean, you just continue to see how Tomlin continues to get this team ready week in and week out, including throughout the whole offseason. And this is where you got to be a little bit smarter in these regards here and say to yourself, I mean, where do we have to just play smart? And when you're a team that's trying to realistically, at the end of the day, chase a 7th Super Bowl right here for this franchise, I mean, you still got to realize it's still clocking punching the clock, coming in to work. You don't want to, come in there, I mean, all sleepwalking into this contest. I mean, the good news, the awesome thing is that they're going to be having their color rush uniforms, which the Steelers have been 5-1 so far since wearing them. The only times they have worn it twice was back-to-back years in 2018 and 2019, with the first loss coming with quarterback Devlin Hodges, who actually wore it in a loss to the Buffalo Bills last year on Sunday Night Football. And there you have it right there. I mean, at the same time, too, you can't help but get a little bit more extra amped right there. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, who's worn it his entire career, Has never lost in this uniform, so we'll see how that fares tomorrow. Glad to see Big Ben, number 7, coming back. So won about over 83% of their games when wearing these uniforms. Also, too, Bouchette, he tweeted out yesterday afternoon that Mike Tomlin said Vance McDonald, who has been on the COVID-19 list the past 2 games, is scheduled to return to practice Tuesday. And when we take a look at today's practice report coming into this game right now, so far there has been no sign of Vance McDonald. He still seems to be on the team's reserve COVID-19 list along with Kevin Dotson. Remember, he's been placed on there following the conclusion of the Cowboys game. Excuse me, I take that back. I didn't see any indication of him practicing today. I don't know if he's still self-quarantining, but he has been removed off the COVID-19 list. So Kevin Dotson is the one that remains. So that's good news right there. And we'll see if he's going to be available going into this Thursday's contest right here, trying to help out a guy too. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, aside from that, when we take a look at the rest of the Steelers' injury report for tomorrow's game versus the Ravens here, this is who the Steelers have reported. So far, they're only reporting one guy with an injury who did not practice today. That was Joe Hayden. And then, I mean, as far as starters-wise, then you also have Marquise Pouncey and Dave DeCastro right here. They did not practice the past 2 days, non-injury related. But your backups who do have injuries, such as the running backs right now, it's only 2 players right here. Trey Evans, hamstring, and Jalen Samuels, quadriceps. They did not practice for this contest going into this Thursday's game. And we'll see how that continues to pay dividends for that time right there. And at this point right here, I mean, this is the bottom line right now. You just got to be – I mean, I think that was one of the noticeable concerns right there was the tight end here. And when you look at the Steelers' depth chart here, I mean, on that, I mean, you had – I mean, aside from Eric Ebron, Vance McDonald, Zach Gentry, I mean, who are going to be the other guys going into this contest right now? And I feel for right now, I mean, Zach Gentry, speaking of which, he did have a knee injury. He did not practice on yesterday, but he was a full participant today, so which is good news. So the tight end depth sounds like they might be able to be just fine with. The only concern I get right here when we go on the flip side to the Ravens, I mean, yes, we just mentioned J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. They're going to be ruled out. But I tell you what, one guy to definitely watch out for in this contest is Gus Edwards going into this match. But I really feel right now, I mean, in that last game versus Steelers, he lit them up for about 87 yards rushing, I want to say. I mean, Gus Edwards is a pretty decent back on here. I mean, when we take a look at things for this team right now, I mean, he has 376 yards for the year through 3 games off of only 85 attempts. So he's averaging nearly 4.5 yards per attempt. And he's also got 281 yards as far as scrimmage. No, excuse me. I mean, 418 yards of scrimmage, which ranks 5th on the team right here. And he is second amongst running backs to be having that. So, I mean, that's one guy you definitely got to pay attention to right here. I mean, this guy, I mean, when you look at Gus Edwards, I mean, 376 yards rushing for the year. He's also had 42 yards receiving. He's got a total of 3 touchdowns, albeit from the ground. But I got to tell you, that last game right there, I mean, they were doing a good job, working that clock right there with him. And I'd just be really interested to see right now, because I got to believe the Steelers going into this game, I think he definitely want to be off to a fast start. I mean, obviously they had Robert Spillane. He had that pick six to open things up. But then the following drive, what happened? The Ravens were able to march back confidently, score a touchdown, and they were able to answer right back so quickly. And that was the thing right here when we take a look at it. I mean, these are the things right here we have to pay attention to. The run defense right now. The run defense seemed to kind of figure to get itself back together. But, I mean, when you look at this game, I mean, think about it. I mean, the first time these two teams met up in the regular season, the Steelers were number one in defending against the run. They only allowed 413 yards going into that Week 8 matchup. This week, however, going to this week's matchup, now they've dropped down 6 spots, so they are now 7th in defending against the run, 1,034 yards rushing. But the good news is, though, their stuff percentage still remains to be like a top notch right now. I mean, they are third at stuffing the run at 24.5%, while the Ravens at this point, they only stuff their opponents 17% of the time. Now, remember, I mean, a lot of that, too, I would have to believe with Tyson Alualu being hurt, I mean, for nearly 2 games and was just barely able to come back against the Bengals. I mean, they really did get stung right there and felt the loss of hardly any presence and depth. I mean, and this is a team right here, right now. I mean, they're going to be ready. I mean, you got a desperate team coming into this contest. A lot of people are probably anticipating maybe this will be this game where the Steelers get their first loss. I mean, which could probably be very well possible. But I do believe right now, the Steelers right now going into this game, I would have to think they'll be a little bit more better. I mean, they're got a lot more bodies available. You got most of your running defense back. And I'd be really interested to see how James Conner is able to carry over from his last opponent versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are things that are going to read out in my mind. Again, we were talking Steelers, Ravens right now. Steelers versus Ravens, Week 12, Thanksgiving Thursday night football countdown here on the Metal Steel Podcast. Where, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey for the Metal Steel Podcast. On Twitter, it is at Metal Steel CGR, at Metal Steel Nation on Instagram. Now, some big news yesterday, which was announced by Director of Communications, Steelers spokesman Burt Lauten, in response to the directives from Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, effective after the Thursday night contest against the Ravens. They're going to go from 5,000 to now 2,500 people inside of Heinz Field. And that is because the team will only allow family and guests of players and staff to attend games. Anybody who's been getting tickets, they'll be awaiting communication from someone from that department to try and issue refunds right now. So 2,500 people going forward, and that's going to be more priority to like family members, more and particularly going into that game. Family and guests and players and guests of players who attend games. So that's going to be somewhat of a big thing, I would imagine. But, I mean, we already know, too, I mean, that this salary cap right now is going to take a pretty lucrative dip. But so far, around $176 million for next season as we pay attention to it. And the thing is, too, I mean, this is where we're at. And I'm not going to lie to you. I still have a lot of very concerns about where the Steelers are going to be over the salary cap. You heard me mention this many times before throughout this podcast. And, of course, any other sources. I mean, even if you go like overthecap.com, the projections, once again, as we speak, let's just double check, take a look at the cap space. Going into next year, I mean, definitely want to worry about this season. But like I said, Steelers right now, they're looking to be at about $19 million in the hole. with about $3 million in the hole of a $30.5 million of effective cap space. So those are going to be some real big decisions right there. But to be honest, yeah, I'm not going to really be sweating it just yet. It sounds like a lot of money, but I mean, you still also got teams in here right now, like the Rams, like the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Saints right there. And what's up here? I got one family member here, my cousin joining on here, 39. PA Tone, what's up, buddy? Happy Thanksgiving to you, my man. Always great seeing you. Right here, and let's just see how this contest goes in for tomorrow's game. I will say this right now, with everything. I mean, with this game, I mean, the home field advantage right now, as Stephen A. Smith would say, it's not going to really be felt that much of a difference. I mean, simply for the fact, I mean, even if you're in the playoffs, you get that first round bye. Live crowds is still live crowds. That's no way going around that. Who knows? They're even allow 2,500 or expand it a little bit around the time of the playoffs. Should this thing start to calm down? So let's get into some other stuff right now, some other news right now. Surprisingly, here's some good news for today right now. Going into week number 12, the power rankings were just released this morning. As you know me, I've been following the power rankings throughout the season, primarily off of NFL.com throughout the year. And so far, the Steelers right now, according to NFL.com, they are still at number 2 right now. Chiefs still taking the top spot. I think that's appropriate. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what the Steelers do to this Ravens team on Thursday night, should they be victorious. And I think a lot of people are going to be interested if they're going to beat them. The way they beat them, if they do, or will they beat them soundly? Because I think that's what a lot of people are paying attention to. Because don't forget, this Chiefs team beat an impressive Raiders team. And I really feel the Raiders in Las Vegas are slowly starting to come on the rise right now. Derek Carr, very humble attitude. I think the only thing is when I look at a guy like Derek Carr, and I was speaking with a close friend of mine, he's kind of starting to remind me of Kirk Cousins in a way, where he could just be making some costly turnovers and mistakes late in ball games. As you just saw this past Sunday, the game-sealing interception to put the Raiders away for good with under 2 minutes left to go. I mean, the Raiders, they had the Chiefs beat in that game, I feel. And I think the biggest thing is too, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, when you look at like his footwork, as Chris Collins was pointing out in that game, his fast movement was just too much for the Raiders. Now the Raiders, they were doing a good job, I think, doing the best they can, trying to get a pass rush on this guy, but I mean, you also still look at too, like Le'Veon Bell right there. He didn't get the game-winning touchdown, but he did get a touchdown in that game. And everyone else, like Travis Kelce, I mean, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. He still has to give credit to the defending champions, no doubt about it. And I feel no disrespect. One guy, however, who I had penciled in, not being the number 1 team, and I was kind of waiting for it, but Stephen A. Smith, who does his Stephen's A list on ESPN's First Take, and he just had like his list for today following the Week 11 matchup here. And here's his top 5 teams right now. And so at number 5, he's got the Colts for this week. They come in at the number 5 spot, knocking off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a tough loss last night to the Rams. I think the Rams really made a statement yesterday against a struggling Bucs team on prime time. I tell you what, I think the Rams, you got to pay attention to right now. I mean, they seem to be figuring out how life without Todd Gurley. I think Harrison is supposed to be like the new back right now. I mean, Sean McVay right here, I love his enthusiasm. I love his energy. He's a nice young coach, very great communications. And I really feel like the Rams, they beat the Seahawks along the way too. So let's not forget, they're in first place in the NFC West. They're number 4 on Stephen's A list. Then you got the Saints at number 3. They were number 3 on last week's list. Then you got the Chiefs at number 2. So Steelers, according to Stephen A. Smith, gets the number 1 spot just simply because of the way they handled Jacksonville Jaguars this past Sunday, 27-3. I honestly was watching, and to be honest, before he even announced it, I penciled in the Steelers at number 2. I still got the Steelers as the number 2 team in the power rankings. I'm not so sure if I want to give them the number 1 spot just yet, only because I want to see what they do to the Baltimore Ravens. But I think what would really tell if they're going to be a number 1 team in the power rankings, let's just see when the dust clears, when you not only when you get for these games, if they're able to come out of it in one piece, if you could somehow beat the Ravens, and of course take care of business against the Washington football team, the Buffalo Bills is going to be a key one in my opinion. I put a poll on that one on yesterday afternoon, and I actually tweeted out there yesterday, and we still got about 5 days left, so feel free to go on my Twitter at MassSteelCGR. With 6 games remaining down the stretch, which team, as a Steeler fan, are you most concerned with down the stretch? And I got either the Ravens, the Bills, the Colts, and the Browns. Browns, believe it or not, still hanging in there, only out by 3 games right here. So you still need 4 games to clinch, like I just mentioned. So far, the Bills still got the slight edge right now over the Ravens. They are at 50% of the Twitter poll right now. You got the Ravens coming in at second, nearly 36%, followed by the Colts and the Browns at a deadlock tie. I'll probably still go with the Colts, then the Browns, only because of the Colts' defense. But I got to tell you right now, the Browns right now, everything that Kevin Stefanski's doing right here, this is a team that will not quit. This is not the laughable Browns anymore. Yeah, they had their pie in the face with the Ravens, the Steelers, but I don't think Baker Mayfield and this team is ready to go out swinging. And here's Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is in the running right now, along with guys like Aaron Donald and TJ Watt. Aaron Donald's already won the Defensive Player of the Year twice in back-to-back years, 2017 and 2018. He could steal that award this year. I mean, when you really look at it too, I mean, for everything that's been going on right now, TJ Watt, the only argument I can make for him so far is that he's only 3rd in sacks. Honestly, I think TJ Watt had a much better year. I mean, he had a lot more a lot more forced fumbles. But the thing is, with a guy like TJ Watt, too, I think it's his quarterback hits. I mean, when you really look at it, I mean, that's what he's mainly do. I mean, as an outside linebacker, be a disruptor in that area. And speaking of quarterback hits for this season, TJ Watt is number 1 in that category with 30, and he's only, he's 3rd on the list behind Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson, only by a half a sack. Myles Garrett only played 9 games, so he missed a game. I think he was temporarily on COVID-19. So if I had to choose possibly who's probably get the Defensive Player of the Year award, I don't know. I'll probably give it to Aaron Donald once again. I think only because if they're able to win that NFC West and get back to the playoffs and somehow try and challenge for a top spot in that conference right there, that's a huge statement right there. This Rams team is very something special right here coming into it. I don't think they had to play the Saints this year. They did not. But I really like what they're doing right now. I mean, their defense is really starting to get aggressive right now. with everything, and they've only allowed 2,919 yards, which is number one in the league. And they're top 10 in takeaways right now. When it comes to at 15, they can also get it for the quarterback in their own right. I mean, this team is very incredible to watch. So right now, let's also go into the other news I mentioned. Pro Football Hall of Fame, they announced their 25 people for the semifinalists going into this year's class of 2021. If there will be a Football Hall of Fame ceremony by the time the summer hits, hopefully it will not be canceled again. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that. But on the list right here for first-timers getting a crack at it, as far as like the modern era, of course, Peyton Manning, he's going to be the guy headlining it along with Charles Woodson, Megatron Kelvin Johnson, and Jared Allen. So the two Steelers that are on this list right now is left guard, Alan Faneca right here, who's been a Super Bowl champion on Super Bowl 40 with Bill Cowher's team, who made the Pro Bowl 9 times, 6 times All-Pro. He's looking to get in on his 6th attempt. Hopefully that'll be the charm for him. Then you got a guy like Hines Ward, never was an All-Pro, but he still had about a little over 12,000 yards receiving as far as 1,000 receptions, I believe it was in his career. Let's take a look at that. His reception, yeah, 1,000 receptions right there. I think he leads the Steelers team as far as receiving. And so he was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, of course, Super Bowl 40 MVP, the one for the thumb right there. So which leads me right now, the fair or foul topic number 1. Alan Faneca will probably get the nod before Hines Ward. I'll say fair on that. Hines Ward, I'm not so sure. I think eventually at some point he'll get in, but the lack of having no All-Pros on him, only 4 Pro Bowls, I think everything else, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got the numbers, but, I mean, they're not as, like, attractive when you see across other receivers in this league. But he's going to probably have to wait a little bit more for that. I mean, for his time. I love Hines Ward a lot. The only thing is, I think a lot of people, I mean, when you vote a lot of these things too, they do tend to look at characters sometimes. The way his character was on the field, I mean, he was really viewed that as a dirty player at the end of the day. Love him to death, but he definitely had left a lot of bad taste in people's mouth the way he would go out and make blocks. He's 26 on the all-time reception yardage there. So we'll see. I'm probably have to say he waits. And then fair foul topic number 2. The Steelers will have the AFC North wrapped up probably as early as week 14. Week 14, that'll be more than likely the Buffalo Bills game. I'm going to have to say fair on that one for right now, only because, like I said, I doubt the Browns right now are going to lose this weekend. Speaking of which, the Browns right now, they got to play, let's see, the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. I expect the Browns to take care of business, to be honest, on the road. And they got the Titans the following week, so maybe that game could probably be it. So we'll find out. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the National Podcast. So like I said, I'm going to say fair. More than likely, we'll see it by the Buffalo Bills game at the latest. So if you guys, thank you very much for all of you guys choosing in. I want to just wish everybody a blessed and a happy, safe Thanksgiving right now. And just like I said, all your families right here. I know it's tough on a lot of people where we can't be in person with one another with this whole COVID thing going on. Breaks my heart to see where it's at, but at the same time, too, I just wanted to say once again, we have to be disciplined more than anything. Let's just stay self-discipline. Be smart. And until that stuff happens, this thing ain't going away soon, yellow, until we get the vaccine. So remember, you guys got a way of technology. You guys got to make a phone call, do a video chat. Do that right now. Take advantage of it while you still can. Anyway, as always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here goes, here we go. I gone. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, guys.